The final battle began not with grand fleets meeting in open space, but with something far more terrifying: silence. Admiral Zeph Cole commanded the largest armada in galactic history, over 12,000 ships spread across 17 different star systems, all converging on human space. The plan was simple: overwhelming force applied simultaneously across multiple fronts. No species could withstand such an assault. "All fleets report ready, Admiral," his communications officer announced. "Operation Final Authority is prepared to commence on your command." Zeph Cole studied the tactical displays showing his massive fleet formations. After months of surprising defeats, the hegemony had finally brought enough force to end this rebellion once and for all. "Begin the operation." All fleets advanced to their target systems. The response was immediate and horrifying. As the hegemony fleets moved into attack positions, they found nothing. No human ships, no defensive platforms. The colonies appeared abandoned. Space stations were dark, and entire systems seemed devoid of life. "Sir," his sensor officer called out nervously, "we're not detecting any human ships in the target systems, none at all." "Impossible. Intelligence reports indicated massive defensive preparations." "The installations are here, Admiral, but they appear to be automated. And, sir, we're detecting some kind of massive energy buildup from the direction of the Sol system." Before Zeph Cole could respond, every sensor screen on his flagship went white. Deep in the Sol system, humanity had been preparing for this moment since the war began. What the aliens hadn't understood was that human innovation went far beyond simple ships and weapons. They had been rebuilding reality itself. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the archaeologist who had first discovered the Elder Warnings, now stood in the command center of humanity's greatest achievement, the Prometheus Array. Built into the asteroid belt around Sol, it was part weapon, part manufacturing facility, and part something else entirely. "Final system checks complete," reported the lead engineer. "All quantum resonance chambers are at full power. Stellar collection arrays are operating at maximum efficiency." General Hayes, now overall commander of human military forces, looked at the readings with a mixture of awe and terror. "Dr. Vasquez, are you certain this will work?" Elena nodded grimly. "The Elder Archives were very specific. This is how they dealt with galactic threats. They didn't just defeat their enemies, they made sure those enemies could never threaten anyone again." "And the risk to our own people?" "Minimal. The wave propagation will follow the quantum signature locks we've established on all hegemony vessels. Our ships are configured to be invisible to the effect." Hayes took a deep breath. "Then God help us all. Initiate the Prometheus Protocol." Across human space, installations that had taken months to construct and had consumed the resources of multiple star systems suddenly activated. What the aliens thought were defensive positions revealed their true nature. They were components of a weapons system that spanned multiple solar systems. The Prometheus Array fired. What followed defied every principle of known physics. The quantum resonance wave that erupted from Sol didn't travel at light speed. It traveled through quantum space, hitting every hegemony fleet simultaneously regardless of distance. Ships that had been preparing to attack human colonies suddenly found their molecular bonds destabilizing. Admiral Zeph Cole watched in horror as vessels throughout his fleet simply began to come apart. Not exploding, dissolving. Metal turned to dust. Energy systems collapsed, and 12,000 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy became clouds of component atoms in the space of minutes. "Evacuation pods!" he screamed, but even those were affected. The quantum wave was targeted specifically at the exotic materials used in hegemony technology. Only basic chemical compounds remained stable. In those final moments, as his flagship disintegrated around him, Admiral Zeph Cole finally understood the true meaning of the ancient warnings. Humanity hadn't just developed advanced weapons, they had learned to weaponize the fundamental forces of reality itself. The effect wasn't limited to ships. Across hegemony space, every military installation, every weapons factory, every strategic resource suddenly ceased to exist. In a matter of hours, the most powerful military force in galactic history had been reduced to scattered survivors floating in escape pods. But the true horror was yet to come. President Carter's voice echoed across every communication channel in the galaxy as she addressed not just humanity, but every species that could receive the transmission. People of the galaxy, this is President Carter of the Human Federation. For months, the hegemony has attempted to subjugate humanity through violence and intimidation. They murdered our people without warning. They threatened our children. They believed their superior numbers would ensure victory. The transmission paused as images filled screens across known space. Images of the hegemony's vast fleets simply ceasing to exist. They were wrong. What you have witnessed today is not the full extent of human capability. It is merely a demonstration. The weapon we use today was designed specifically to target hegemony military assets. It could just as easily target their civilian infrastructure, their worlds, their entire civilization. In the hegemony's capital system, Councillor Rixthon stared at the transmission in growing terror. Around her, other council members were receiving reports that defied comprehension. Their entire military, ships, bases, weapons, had simply vanished. However, President Carter continued, humanity chooses mercy over annihilation. The hegemony's military capacity has been eliminated, but their people remain untouched. We offer them the same choice they offered us: surrender. The terms that followed redefined galactic politics. The hegemony would disband. Occupied worlds would be granted independence. War crimes tribunals would be established. And most significantly, a new galactic government would be formed, one based on cooperation rather than domination. To any who might consider challenging these terms, Carter's voice grew harder, remember what you have witnessed today. Remember that humanity showed restraint. Remember that we could have chosen total destruction, but did not. Do not mistake our mercy for weakness. Do not repeat the hegemony's error. 3 days after the Prometheus Protocol ended the war, Ambassador Kethavar found himself in an ironic position. The former hegemony diplomat was now part of a delegation seeking audience with human leadership. The meeting took place on Harmony's Rest, the same station where Captain Chen had first witnessed the murder of human patrol ships. Captain Chen, now Admiral Chen, greeted the delegation personally. Ambassador Kethavar, I remember you from the first transmissions. You seemed reluctant about the war. Kethavar's 4 arms trembled as he spoke. Admiral, I tried to warn the Council about the Elder Archives, the ancient warnings about humanity. They would not listen. The Elder Warnings, Chen mused. We've been researching those ourselves. Tell me, what exactly did they say? That humanity was different. That among all species in the galaxy, you alone possessed the capacity for unlimited adaptation. That in peace you would be explorers and traders, but in war... He paused, struggling to find words. In war, you would become something beyond comprehension. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. The elders were right about one thing, Ambassador. We are different. But perhaps not in the way they thought. She gestured to the viewport where construction crews, both human and alien, were working together to rebuild what the war had damaged. Most species seem to reach a certain level of development and then stagnate. They become comfortable with their technology, their society, their place in the universe. Humans, we can't seem to stop changing. Every challenge makes us stronger. Every setback forces us to innovate. The war didn't make us into monsters, Ambassador. It made us into what we've always had the potential to become. Kethavar looked puzzled. Then why didn't you destroy us completely? You had the power. Chen's expression grew serious. Because that's not what we are. Yes, we have the capacity for total destruction, but we also have something else. The ability to choose not to use it. That's what the elders really feared, I think. Not that we would become destroyers, but that we would become judges. In the months that followed, the galaxy underwent the most dramatic transformation in its recorded history. The hegemony's collapse left a power vacuum that dozens of species rushed to fill, but human diplomats were there to guide the process. The new galactic cooperative was built on principles of voluntary association and mutual benefit. The technological advances forced by the war didn't disappear with peace. Instead, they were turned toward exploration, terraforming, and improving life for all species. Human shipyards that had produced warships now built colony vessels and research stations. The quantum technologies that had destroyed the hegemony fleet were adapted for faster-than-light communication and transportation. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now director of the new Institute for Galactic Archaeology, made a discovery that shed light on the ancient mysteries. Deep in the Elder archives, she found the final entries of their civilization. "The children of Terra have awakened," the last Elder record stated. "As we foresaw, they have passed the great test. They possessed the power to destroy, but chose instead to build. The galaxy is safe in their hands. Our watch is ended." The Elders, it turned out, had not vanished mysteriously. They had simply moved on, confident that their successors would eventually emerge. The warnings they left behind weren't threats. They were tests, and humanity had passed. Admiral Zeph Cole, one of the few hegemony officers to survive the final battle, found himself in an unexpected position. Rather than being imprisoned or executed, he was offered a place in the new Galactic Cooperative's peacekeeping force. Human leaders believed that former enemies who had witnessed their power firsthand would be the most effective advocates for peace. "Why?" he asked Admiral Chen during their first meeting since the war's end. "Why show mercy to those who would have destroyed you?" Chen considered the question carefully. "Because that's what separated us from the hegemony in the first place. You ruled through fear and superior force. We choose to lead through example and cooperation. Besides," she added with a slight smile, "the galaxy is a big place. There's room for everyone to find their own way." As news of humanity's victory and subsequent restraint spread throughout the galaxy, something unprecedented happened. Species that had been enemies for millennia began to work together. The example of human mercy toward their defeated foes inspired others to reconsider old grudges and ancient conflicts. The human approach to galactic governance was revolutionary in its simplicity. Instead of imposing a single system on all species, they encouraged diversity and self-determination. Instead of demanding tribute or submission, they offered partnership and mutual benefit. The result was a period of peace and prosperity unlike anything the galaxy had ever experienced. Years later, when young beings of various species learned about the Great War in their history classes, they would struggle to understand how anyone could have been foolish enough to provoke humanity. The evidence of human restraint and wisdom was all around them, in the peaceful cities, the thriving colonies, the cooperative research stations that dotted the galaxy. But the teachers would always end their lessons with the same warning that the Elders had left behind. Never forget that humanity's greatest strength is not their technology or their military might. It is their ability to choose mercy when they have the power to choose vengeance. This choice, more than anything else, is what makes them worthy to lead. The galaxy had learned the truth that the Elders had tried to preserve. That true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when not to use that ability. Humanity had proven themselves worthy guardians of galactic civilization, not by conquering it, but by choosing to serve it. And in the depths of space, on worlds where the Elder ruins stood as monuments to a vanished civilization, the ancient warnings still glowed with soft light, no longer warnings of danger, but confirmations of hope. The children of Terra had indeed awakened, and the galaxy was safe.